Behind Donald Trump's tariff policy, a response to the global job crisis. Introduction. When Donald Trump launched a trade war with China, many rushed to label it a reckless move, destabilizing the global market. But look deeper into his import tax policy, and you'll find it's not merely a trade maneuver. It's a strategic response to a simmering crisis that's becoming more and more apparent: the global employment crisis. This isn't just a battle with China, it's a reckoning with globalization, automation, and the explosive rise of artificial intelligence, forces that are shaking the very foundation of the traditional labor economy, not only in the US, but across the world. Part 1. The storm of globalization and technology. For decades, globalization has driven multinational corporations to shift production to lower-cost countries like China, India, Vietnam, and Mexico. The reason was clear: maximizing profit. But the cost? Millions of American workers lost their jobs, and industrial towns across the Midwest, once the heart of American manufacturing, fell into decline. An American worker demands $25 an hour. A worker in Guangdong earns just $3 an hour. This wage disparity created a massive economic imbalance between developed nations and low-cost labor countries. Jobs disappeared, leaving behind a working class with no work. But that was just the beginning. With the rapid advancement of technology, especially automation and AI, it's no longer just manual labor at risk. White-collar jobs, accounting, finance, law, even medicine, are now being threatened by machines. In just a few years, companies like Amazon have used AI to optimize every part of their supply chain and customer management systems, eliminating millions of office jobs. According to a McKinsey report, by 2030, up to 800 million workers worldwide could be displaced by automation and AI. That's 1/5 of the global workforce. This isn't just a shift in work, it's a full-blown revolution. The American middle class, once the backbone of the economy, is now being crushed between two forces: job loss and the erosion of trust in government. This isn't just an economic threat, it's a threat to the very fabric of society. Part 2. Economic, political, social fallout. When jobs vanish, the impact isn't isolated to the individual. It ripples outward. Tax revenue drops, national budgets shrink, governments are forced to borrow more, public debt skyrockets, unemployment rises, social unrest follows, distrust in the political system deepens, income inequality grows, society fractures. Meanwhile, tech giants like Amazon, Google, Apple rake in billions in profits while paying minimal taxes. According to Oxfam, the 5 largest global corporations, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Google, have paid as little as 0.1% in taxes on their profits in certain years. This glaring injustice fuels a sense of abandonment and inequality across society. Part 3. Trump. Reaction or recklessness? Enter Donald Trump, with a message that was bold and crystal clear. We must bring jobs back to America. We'll tax imports, and if American companies don't return, there will be consequences. Trump slapped tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars in Chinese goods, but China was only part of the equation. His goal was broader: to incentivize companies to manufacture in America, hire Americans, and pay taxes in America. Many called it impulsive, but in truth, it was a long-term strategy, a bid to restructure the US economy, revive industry, and rebuild the middle class. It was a plan to protect American workers, restore jobs, and reduce reliance on low-wage nations. Part 4. The hidden financial threat to the US government. One of the most dangerous consequences of globalization is the erosion of tax revenues from multinational corporations. When companies don't pay their fair share, the US government is left with a financial crisis on its hands. According to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, US national debt surpassed $30 trillion in 2023, and it's still climbing. To manage this debt, the government must borrow from global markets, entering a vicious cycle of dependence on major creditors like China and international investment funds. This dependence weakens America's financial sovereignty and raises a serious question. What will the US use to repay its debts when tax revenues no longer suffice? To stay afloat, the US has had to implement monetary easing and issue bonds, ballooning public debt. If this continues unchecked, America could face default or resort to extreme measures, like printing more money, which could unleash uncontrollable inflation and devalue the dollar. Moreover, as debt grows, the U.S. will be forced to slash spending on essential social programs, education, healthcare, social welfare. The working class will lose opportunities, protections, and stability, fueling greater social unrest. Conclusion. You may agree or disagree with Donald Trump, but you can't deny one thing. He was among the few leaders willing to confront a harsh truth others ignored. If we don't take bold action to reform the economy, we are heading toward a catastrophic crisis of unemployment and instability, far worse than any we've seen in the 20th century. Trump imposed tariffs because he understood that a nation cannot sustain itself on debt, machines, and blind faith in the free market. A nation survives when its people have jobs, income, and hope. If the U.S. government fails to act soon, debt will continue to rise, potentially leading to default and triggering a financial disaster that could shake the foundations of government and society. The world is changing by the second. But if we have no work, no income, no future, then it's all just a beautiful illusion. This is no longer just America's problem. It's a wake-up call for humanity. If we don't regain control over technology, globalization, and public debt, we risk being swept away by the very forces we created. You don't have to agree with Trump, but you can't ignore the truth, because the future doesn't belong to those who turn away. If this video gave you something to think about, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others who are also searching for answers. See you again, where deep thinking is celebrated.